Nothing fancy, part 2 of my tabletop review of the Taurus PT 24/7 standard model. This is not the Pro model. Nowadays you'll find the Pro model, but there's a lot in common. I'll get to the differences here in a sec. We left off talking about the ergonomics and the controls. That's a big criticism I have against the PT 24/7 design. And versus the Glock just wins a lot. Because in that respect, controls, because it's so simple, just a slide release, and you don't even have to use that. Most users, when they lock around, they're out of rounds, they can come back here, and just release a slide that way, and that works quite well actually. And that's the biggest slide release you have is a slide. So, anyways, that's the controls. How about the trigger on the 24/7? Well, I will say that Taurus has done an outstanding job of improving all of their pistols. They don't sit on their hands. They're constantly taking user inputs and improving them. And one of the improvements they've made on the Pro Series of 24/7 that is currently available, this is November 2008 as of this filming of this, and also the new Taurus 800 series of pistols and the 24/7 OSS, they have a much improved trigger over this. Now, what is this trigger first off? Let me put in a snap cap. This is just a standard aluminum snap cap, so we can pull this trigger without doing any damage at all. And then we double check. Oops, went too far on that all the time. That's another thing I'm going to tell you about that's actually pretty good about the Taurus, and it has a very light slide pressure. In other words, it's really easy to cock. And I'll just do a chamber check there. Okay, so this is a true double action only trigger. So as I pull the trigger on this model of 24/7, it's double action. We don't preload the striker spring at all. There's no compression of it at all. We're doing the compression by a long and relatively heavy double action trigger pull. If you're a revolver user going to an auto pistol, this might be a trigger you would like. You might dig it. It gives you multiple strike capability. In other words, it's not a striker fired pistol. If you have a bad primer, you can pop it again. I'll talk about my philosophy on that here in a sec. I don't like the trigger. I said that in my shooting review of the 24/7 of this model of 24/7. I just don't like it. It's too long. There's too many things that can happen as I pull the trigger. I mean, I'm supposed to maintain my sight picture, right, as I pull. But if I'm doing a long pull, I got to be good at that because it's easy for me to drift a little bit off my sights. Now, the 24/7 OSS, the 800 series, and the Pro model use a newer model trigger. It's a single action, double action hybrid trigger. And what it does is they 100% load, if I'm not mistaken, the striker spring. And so you still have a long take up, but there's no spring pressure until you get to the rear of the trigger guard, at which point you release the striker. So it's very light. Also, it has the advantage, a lot of people say, of being able to do a second strike capability. So it's kind of a single action trigger, and then if it fails to ignite, you can do one more pull on that, that bad primer, and maybe if you can get some ignition. Here's my philosophy on that. I think that's way overrated. Second strike capability is overrated because I think that's bad training. If I have a failure to fire, click, nothing happens. I don't want to waste time doing this. Well, maybe if I fire it on 17 times, it'll work. No. Let's do a tap, rack, bang. Tap, rack the slide, and better said, tap, rack, ready, and then ready on your threat. Get rid of that round. Don't waste time with that round. In all likelihood, are you going to pull twice? Yeah, I don't know, maybe. But if I were you, I would just clear the round out and keep on trucking. Okay, so that's the new trigger on the Pro model and on the 800 series model. By the way, the 800 series of Taurus, again, getting to the innovations of Taurus, which are quite impressive, it has what is called balanced spring pressure, and they're saying that you can fire 10 rounds under a second with that thing. That sounds impressive. I got that off their website, so I don't know. I'd have to see that, but that sounds pretty wicked. On the 800 series of Taurus, not this one. So, the trigger on this particular model, I don't like it. And again, let's be honest here, how's the trigger on the Glock 19? All the Glocks, actually. Well, it's not a true double action only. It's a striker-fired pistol, and actually that striker spring is about 50 to 60% compressed. 50 to 60% compressed, and so when I pull this trigger, I'm completing the compression all the way to the firing cycle, i.e. releasing the striker. So it's not 100% compression like this true double action only trigger does, and I like it. Some people don't like the Glock trigger. They prefer single action, pure single action. I don't have any problems with it. I can shoot well with it. But you know what? I can shoot well with this, and so can you. You just train with it and get practiced with it. If you can put up with it, you'll like it. Now, some people say, I like that double action only trigger because it's safer. You know, if I'm much less likely to accidentally discharge my weapon should something get in the trigger guard. Again, this is overrated internet hype. I don't buy it. I've been carrying Glocks for many years, since the late 80s. I've never, ever, ever had a problem with an AD. If you have good gun safe, good safe handling procedures, you're not going to have a problem with it. Yeah, I do carry a holster that will cover the trigger guard, but nothing is magically going to get in there and pull that trigger. It has a safe action trigger and has that paddle on it that has to be purposely actuated in order to complete the firing cycle. That doesn't happen. In fact, I've never heard of it, ever. So, way overrated. So, is this a less safe design than this? Nope. According to Nothing Fancy, not at all. I don't buy it. So there you have it. The ergonomics. Let me cover the sights here too. I put that in there so I don't forget. Now, this is a difference again between the PT 24/7 standard model, this one, and then the Pro model. These are 3-dot regular combat sights, I think proprietary, i.e. Taurus made them. However, the Pro model has straight 8 heinies, and those mean that you have 2 dots that line up against each other, and they're excellent. But I also think these are excellent. Now, this particular 19, I think, is wearing some Triticon night sights, so it's not a fair comparison since it's aftermarket. But it also has the same standard 3-dot setup, and no problems. I think that's fine. I like the sights on it. They're quick. They worked for me in the desert, as you can see. The blade's kind of high. This is kind of a high butter blade right here on here compared against the 19. A little bit higher, not that much. But just something to think about. So we covered the controls, trigger, sights, and feel. I like the feel. You can get used to the trigger, I think. Will you ever get used to this? Yeah, in practice you will. In combat, probably never. How's the simplicity of these two guns? Sorry the battery died. I'll have to join those 2 clips. One thing I forgot to mention in ergonomics is the ease of which the slide can be retracted. And this would be good for, I don't know, pansies, guys that don't have a lot of arm strength. And I'm just kidding with that. And then also women. Women sometimes have a real hard time retracting that slide. However, the Taurus PT 24/7, very easy to do. In comparison even to the Glock is a lot stiffer pull, and for some users they will like that easy slide of the Taurus. Alright, and I left off and I was going to talk about the simplicity, ease of use, and field strip. Let's start with a field strip. And I will say that it's not quite as easy to field strip as the Glock, and a lot of other designs for that matter, the 24/7. We're going to start by pointing in a safe direction, removing the magazine, and then emptying the chamber. That should have a snap cap in there, sure enough. And see here, I just made the mistake right there. See, I was trying to put the slide release up, and so what do I do? I push the safety up because they're right here. That's what I'm talking about. Now, I don't have a lot of time on the Taurus, but I'm sitting here trying to do this. Retract the slide forward. Just a note. Okay, so once we do that, the chamber's empty. We'll retract this. Here's our tank down lever on the Taurus, and we actually have to rotate that clockwise. Then we have to pull it up, and this is not super easy, not super hard. And this is generally why I don't like showing takedowns on my video, because it takes time too. Then we extract that takedown lever, and that's the loose part. I don't like loose parts when I take down. And then release the slide, double check that chamber, pull, and then it comes off. And it doesn't come off easily. You saw I had to use a little bit of force, a little bit. So anyways, then we can take, of course, our recoil spring and guide rod out. There's our barrel, 4 1/4 inch. And this one actually has, the Taurus PT 24/7 has a nice polished feed ramp to it. I like that. I think that's a nice touch. Polished top here. Don't need that. That's okay. When I take this gun apart, though, it's very similar to Glock inside. You look at this gun. Very similar. Here's those full-length guide rails I told you about that the slide rides on, probably contributing to its very good accuracy by all indications. on the 24/7. Very nice. Okay, so for putting back together, just put the guide rod and recoil spring back in like that. Make sure that's definitely aligned. If it's just cocked off just a little bit like that, you're going to jam your slide on the 24/7. Learned by experience. How you doing? Hold it, and I just use a one-handed hold like that. And I put my takedown pin back in. Rotate. Actually, I got to push it all the way in. Like I said, not super easy. I'm just going to show you. There you go. Get your hand out of the way. Kind of a complicated takedown compared to other designs. Then we function check. I could do the snap cap again. I'm not. How about the Glock? Again, we remove the magazine. Check the chamber. Safe direction that way. Pull the trigger. Retract the slide about 1/4 of an inch. Takedown lever comes off. Done. Doesn't come any simpler. Advantage Glock by a huge margin, if you ask me. Just is. So field strip blows it away. How about ease of use? Also advantage Glock big time because it doesn't have those complex controls on the side. It's just easier to use. I will give some credit to the Taurus ease of pull on the slide though, like I just mentioned. That gets to ease of use for some users. That because that slide is so easy to retract, it's very easy for a 9mm, probably in other calibers as well. Haven't tried them. So that, some credit given there. But I'm still going to say overall ease of use and field strip advantage Glock. How's accessories and versatility? Huge advantage Glock. Sorry, it just is. It's going to just win in all cases. And that's because there's so much available for the Glock. I mean, you name it. You've got grip modifications, barrels, night sights. You can get Meprolite sights, Triticons, TrueGlow, Aerotech, target sights like Bomar. I'm not sure about Bomar, but other target sights, fully adjustable, maybe the Pachmeyer variety. Guide rods, different springs, trigger mods, optical mounts like this. This is an optical mount. It mounts right on this gun. You can put a red dot sight on it, no problem. And all kinds of magazines for the Glock. So overall, big advantage Glock. And in the accessory department, also holsters. I'm sure there's some holsters for the PT 24/7, but I guarantee you there are not as many as there are for the Glock. The Glock, having sold millions and millions of guns, well, I don't know about millions, but hundreds of thousands of guns, there's a big market out there. And that's what's going to dictate the accessory market. The accessory market's going to blossom when you have a very successful pistol. And when that happens, you can get cool stuff like this. The Black Hawk Serpa holster for your LBE, your Molly gear. And this can fit, into the Glock 19, the 17, the 34 fits into this holster right here. Wicked. Does the Taurus 24/7 have that? No, doesn't. Now you can get a generic holster, kind of along the lines of this Don Hume pancake holster. And, not made, this one was made for an H&K USP, I believe. That'll fit. That's good. And I'm sure there's other, generic holsters or other models that might fit the 24/7. But I'm saying that you won't have a purpose-built one to the level of, the Serpa. So accessory market for the Glock it just blows away the Taurus PT 24/7. Truth be told, and I like telling the truth. How about versatility? Versatility advantage Glock as well. That's because it's a system. Once you buy a Glock within a caliber, let's say 9mm, let's say you have a Glock 26, you have a Glock 19, you have a Glock 17, maybe even a 34. That is an entire system. You can always use the magazines from the larger models into the smaller models. That's cool. A lot of the same parts share between the models, so it's easy to, if you want to keep extra parts on hand, it's just a system that integrates well with each other. The sights are going to be very similar. You can swap those out. How about 24/7? Does it have that versatility and that system simplicity among the lines? There are different sizes of 24/7 that are made. And you can go to Taurus's website and you can see the different sizes. The Pro model, 24/7 Pro, comes in a lot of different ones. So, but I'm going to say advantage Glock here. And I'm probably forgetting to say something there, but I got to press on. I'm running out of time, big time. How about value? Well, guess what? Big time advantage Taurus. Because this gun for the user was $230 back in 2003. That's a great deal. Great deal on that gun. For a full-size, super reliable, super, accurate 9mm pistol, amazing. the Glock is going to be more, a lot more. So advantage Taurus in value for sure. Durability and reliability. There's not a lot of guns that are going to rise to the level of Glock. I've said this in a lot of my videos. Sorry, I'm just going to stick with that. You know, it has, Chuck Taylor has 250,000 rounds through his Glock 17. Still going. You know, can this gun do that? You really won't know until you try it. We can't sit here and say, oh, the Taurus will be just as reliable. I mean, we can guess, and we can do an educated guess. And all indications say that it is extremely reliable from what I've heard and my associates that have shot it a lot. But I just can't say it's with authority that it's going to be as reliable as a Glock. Sorry. Durability, again, I'm going to say advantage Glock because it's proven. Will the Taurus be as reliable? I don't know. It has aluminum slide rails there. Will those wear out? Well, so does SIG. So I don't really think that's an issue. But there's other things about a gun you just don't know about until you shoot a lot of rounds. Now, let's be realistic, too. Honestly, how many rounds as a user are you going to be putting through your gun? Honestly. I highly doubt that most people will ever put more than 3,000 rounds through their gun in their lifetime. That's how most users are. They buy their gun for defensive purposes. They shoot it every now and again, but ammo's expensive. Going to get more that way. Heaven forbid Obama taxes it. Could happen. So not a lot of rounds going to go through the gun. So I guarantee you this Taurus 24/7 is probably going to be absolutely durable within your lifetime. If you're a competitor shooting, I don't know, GSSF, or some other type of competition, then yeah, it's going to be a factor. And that's where you really need your data points coming from. Guys that really put a lot of rounds downrange through a gun. And a lot could be said on that. That's a whole topic for another video. So durability and reliability, advantage Glock. However, don't think for a second that the 24/7 is neither of those. They are. I'm just saying this has been around longer, has established a reputation that's pretty much, indisputable at this point. And that's the track record, the final talking point. I mean, police agencies all over the country have used the Glock series, and that's what really needs to happen with the 24/7. Heck, not just 24/7, 24/7 OSS, maybe the Taurus 800, needs to be adopted and put in the hands of a lot of people that don't know guns. That's the real test. Most police officers do not know guns. They're not gun people. They don't shoot well. They sail rounds all over the place, truth be told. I know, I've been there, seen it. And you give them a gun that has these controls, the complex controls, then see what happens. See what happens under stress with those shooters. I can pretty much tell you they're not going to dig it that much. And that's, again, why the Glock perhaps is so standardized through the law enforcement community. It's simple. It's easy to train with. People who don't know guns, the Glock series, all calibers, excels. And it's the most widely used semi-automatic pistol in law enforcement for good reason. Now, the Taurus 24/7, could it do that as well? Could be. Don't know. Is there a big agency or military entity that's adopted the 24/7? I think the OSS has the best option for that, but I don't think so with a PT 24/7. But overall, as a civilian gun and as a defensive choice, it still remains a very excellent value because pretty much it holds its own in all these talking points. Yeah, a little bit heavier. I talked about that, but that's not a showstopper. It's not over 30 ounces. And for me, over 30 ounces is when I become concerned for a full-size handgun that I was like, it's too heavy. When I'm talking a polymer-framed gun. Polymer-framed gun like this 24/7 totally should be lighter. Good accuracy, outstanding accuracy actually, great ergonomics on the handle. By the way, I didn't talk about the rubber grip. That's very comfortable, nice back strap, and it conforms to different hands, so that's good. And also the flattened trigger guard, all those are really nice features on the 24/7 that I do like. However, the rubber I don't like in that it can catch your shirt if you're carrying it on your strong side. As you bend over and your shirt rides up on there, since it's rubber and it's grippy, it'll grab your shirt, and your shirt will not fall free to reconceal the gun. I much prefer to have a hard plastic handle if I'm going to be carrying it on my side. Simplicity, all that stuff, we just talked about it. I'm out of time, like way out of time. So overall, I think the 24/7 is an excellent value, high accuracy gun. Again, the new model has a different trigger on it. I think it'll be an improvement over this long double action only trigger, of which I'm not a fan. Look to my likability scale. By the way, I'm going to give it an extra point because I love the company Taurus. Yep, I love Taurus. They are unabashedly strong Second Amendment supporters. They always have been. They're very responsive to the civilian market, and they just, without apology, support your right to defend yourself, unlike some other companies. I really admire that. They give you a 1-year free NRA membership with the purchase of a handgun. That is just freaking wicked. Thank you, Taurus. And so you're going to get a full extra point on the Nut and Fancy likability scale just for that. Thanks for watching. I'm sure I forgot stuff, but maybe I'll annotate it. Thanks. See ya. Bye.